Hey guys, and welcome back to the Making Spirituality Real podcast. So, today you're going to hear another thing that I kind of warned you might happen, haha, is that I got randomly inspired to do something and it will turn into a whole series. Of course, if anyone has any questions relative to their spiritual path or astrology, tarot, numerology, human design, or any of the things I deal with, then I will prioritize that. But, well, you should follow your inspiration when it comes to you. And, I think this could also be useful, like so many people, even those who are not like regular members, regular viewers of my channel or my podcast, because a lot of people have interest in Vedic astrology. Frankly, I don't know if I would just call it a Vedic, because to me, Vedic astrology is just astrology because it is historically the accurate source of astrology. And last year, I gave my husband a gift. I purchased Parashara Horashastra for him as a Christmas gift, and then I kind of took over and started to study it. And that's kind of what I would like to do in this series. I would like to right now have this kind of arc where I will be analyzing not the whole 2-volume thing, but parts of Parashara Horashastra, which is, by the way, like the Bible for astrology. It's the astrology Bible is what I like to call it, because there are just so many interesting things there. And I think that again, like with the Bible, it's kind of subject to interpretation, and there's just so much information that has a very deep spiritual nature that's related to kind of like the whole holistic universal creation thing that I'm interested in. And I think that some people, even if they do own the book, they might struggle with actually understanding how that works. And also you have to kind of have the ability to skip through like a lot of mumbo jumbo that's happening there, because this book is like, again, very spiritual and religious in nature. And what we're looking for is the sauce, the meat and potatoes. And what I will do in this series is that I will take the book small part by small part, and I will pick out the important parts and kind of interpret them to make it easy even for a layman to understand astrology. So even if you're not coming from a Vedic background, you still have a lot of things that you can learn here about the creation of the universe and the actual meaning of certain houses or the deities that go behind. And honestly, this is material like for the next 10 years, because there's so much here, and I will do it from start to finish. Again, I will skip on a lot of things because I'm not interested in all of them, but those parts that personally interest me, it's my podcast, I'm allowed to do that. And I still think you can take away a lot from that. For starters, I will say that I don't really understand the complete bias that, like the anti-bias more like people have towards Vedic astrology. I know the community is not very inviting because they can be a bit traditionalist and closed-minded, but for God's sake, this is the oldest historical source of astrology that exists on the globe. It just happens to come from India, yes. Would I care about Indian culture besides Indian food if it wasn't for Vedic astrology? Probably no, but this is the oldest, most reliable source that we have that accounts for the spiritual nature of the universe, that is, translatable to men. Maybe there are some even older texts, but they're like, on a like level of illegible that you need like an archaeologist and then specialist to be able to get like one word or one sentence out of it. This in this form, this is just such a treasure of, again, just knowledge about the universe. Even if the terminology is Hindu, who cares? We are, broad-minded here on this channel, in this podcast. So I just think there is truth here. There is truth about the nature of the whole universe, and it just happens to be culturally located in India because that's what has been preserved right now, but it doesn't make the truth any less true. So I guess if you have your own copy of Parashara Horashastra, you can kind of look along, but it's not really going to matter, because even if you don't, I'm still going to, interpret things in such a way that even if you've never seen this book in your life, you will be fine. So the first chapter pertains to the creation of the universe. The nice thing about this book is that it offers you the Sanskrit verses and then the translation right under it, kind of with numbers, again, just like the Bible, which is why I call it the astrology Bible or the spiritual Bible. The other thing that I can tell you that you can take away from this is that the ancients, unlike our modern society, treat astrology seriously. It was kind of understood like a religious law, and they even divided into parts. One part was responsible more for the mathematical movements. The other one was a compendium of spiritual laws. So it's like, in a way, it was more like a moral code dictated by the movements of the stars. It was absolutely fascinating the way they were thinking. It's something that we are missing in our society so badly, but something that I profoundly agree with. In a way, the human law on this planet should be dictated by the natural law of the universe, and how they thought that certain moral code should be observed based on higher spiritual principles. That is so fantastic. Like, we are, like, I honestly feel like we kind of fell behind morally since those times. The idea that is shown here just shows how these people were thinking at the time, and I think that it's very it's profound, and it's something. It's the way that I try to live my life, and it's something that I think we're just missing so badly. And that's why I also thought it was congruent with this podcast, because it's what I talk about, these kind of natural laws of the universe that are transcendent, and that are the transcend time, the passage of time. Well, this was, at the time of writing of this book, it was an era where they were taking it very seriously in daily physical human life. If we could go back to that would be great. The other thing they cover in the first chapter is, in a way, the concept of righteousness. That you see right now in our modern society, we have this very clear division that takes place, where the factor that decides about your rightfulness in the world is pretty much criminal law, or law in general. If you manage not to get detected, or if you manage not to get found out by law, people don't really care if you actually commit a crime, or if you do something immoral, as long as it's not seen. And there is a superficiality to our modern world that, quite frankly, is astounding. But here, the way they look at it, they used to equate law with morality, which is, again, not how it is nowadays. This is going to be a very pop cultural, maybe a bit of a emotional reference, but I just keep thinking of it. In the Legally Blonde movie has like a second part, in which the main character is already an accomplished lawyer, and she's trying to pass a law that fights for morality, that prevents hurting animals. And there was someone in her office that laughed at her for her idealism and said, "I think you have mistaken the law, as in the practice of law systems of the world, and doing the right thing, and you thought they were one and the same." And the whole room kind of laughed, because it was widely acknowledged that even in this law office that was supposed to defend the righteousness of our society, that lawyers really work there for money, for the win. They don't really work to uphold any righteous laws in our society. And this is the kind of world we live in nowadays. But here, you can see that historically, the way society was, law meant righteousness, wisdom meant righteousness, and anything else that was just not observing the balance of the universe was a perversion of it. So evil was, in a way, the perversion of the natural law of the universe, and breaking the law of society was breaking the law of the natural universe. That's how harmonious the world was at the time. And this is absolutely, again, fascinating, something that I strongly agree with, and something that we are very painfully missing in our modern day and age. But still, it's very telling about how these people were thinking and how this was working back then. And I think that as a result, the religion has kind of misinterpreted those words, because years of translation. But when in those kind of texts, when they use words like God-fearing, for example, that doesn't mean that they go to church and they obey a particular text. What this means is that they understand that in the nature of this universe, there are certain laws of action-reaction that are going to be naturally happening, and it divides people into those who are aware of these laws and thus live in accordance with them, knowing of the consequence, and those who are either ignorant or who are trying to trick the laws of the universe by performing evil deeds and getting away with them. And isn't this like what happens in the world nowadays on the political scene? That there are people who do horrible things, like the whole child prostitution rings. And you think, how can these people be successful, rich, and get away with acts of hurting innocents? And that's exactly what is being spoke about here. This division about those who understand that the law of karma means that the karma is going to return to you, and those who want to be able to perform evil deeds and still be able to avoid karmic repercussions. Like, it's fascinating how they just view the world differently, you know, and in a way more truthfully, more righteously. They just don't have this social facade that we are so immersed in nowadays. And it is actually pointed out in his book that as a sort of a warning that you should not impart this sacred spiritual knowledge to those who may try to use it for their own gain, because it's like giving them a weapon, right? It's like giving those who want to use the natural laws of the universe to pervert them and hurt others for their own gain, instead of acquiring wisdom and helping people, you know, live in accordance with their own path, which is very interesting. Here the translation is calling them a crafty person, but you completely understand the idea behind it, right? It's someone who is trying to outsmart not the legal system, but the laws of the universe itself. This is the kind of criminal that there was in their mind at the time, the criminal against the laws of nature, the laws of cosmos themselves. Yeah, I'm trying not to get too excited, but this is so great. This is what gets me going in this life. Now, the other interesting part here is that you have definitely heard of the three Hindu deities Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which, by the way, is it's just a Hindu name, but this is also something that went into Bible as, you know, Jesus Christ, God, His Father, and the Holy Spirit. They are just those three forces. They have different names, but it's always the same. Now, interestingly enough, what I think is more embedded in common culture is calling Brahma the creator, you know, Father, the God, the biggest entity. But here, the one that they're actually praising is Lord Vishnu. And they're calling Lord Vishnu as the ruler of what they call the three worlds. And then Lord Vishnu mixes himself with other energies, and then he becomes Brahma, the creator of the universe, or Shiva, the destroyer. Meanwhile, Lord Vishnu himself is the one that sustains the existence of the universe itself, which makes complete sense, because you have to sustain the existence so that it can keep going, and then you are worrying about whether you want to create something new or to want to destroy something that's not going well, right? So in a way, Brahma and Shiva are coming from Lord Vishnu, which seems to be this state of neutral existence without judgment, and then the neutrality is the one that decides, doing it Brahma, doing it to create something, or doing it Shiva, doing it to, again, destroy something that's not working. So this difference in thinking that it's not even the Brahma that's the highest, but the Vishnu that has the most neutrality and thus the most power, that kind of morphs himself in either Brahma or Shiva, depending on necessity, that's also very, very interesting. Vishnu here is called the author of the universe. So I guess it's the closest word to God himself or whatever. The interesting part also is that they say here that he's endowed with all the powers, all the natural inclinations of the universe, yet he transcends all of them. So he can create if he wants to, he can destroy if he wants to, or he can just be, but he's not tied to any of these functions. See, when we descend more deep into those meanings, normally any entity is kind of bound as it is created as a creative force or a destructive force or as a neutral force. And the beauty here of the universe is that it can be everything. So Vishnu can be Brahma or Shiva, or he can express all these qualities, but he can switch. He has that flexibility, the spiritual flexibility, which is what makes him the most powerful. And I just love the name author of the universe is just so beautiful. Like, I guess it's the translator's interpretation of Sanskrit, but it's just it's so profound. The powers of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are also equated to what Vedic astrologers will know as gunas. And a guna is basically a state of mind. It's a way of operating. The one that is said to be the most divine is sattva. If you do yoga, or if you have ever learned anything about Ayurveda, a sattvic state is a state of calm contemplation and contentment with life itself. So I guess it's Lord Vishnu's natural state. Basically, in a sattvic state, you don't want to change anything, you don't need to, you don't have any desires, and you don't really experience any negativity either. So it's like you don't consume more, you don't really grow or create, but you don't really fall prey to any of the destructive urges either. So it's a balanced state. And then with the other guna is called rajas, and rajas is the desire. So rajas is Brahma, it's the creation, it's the consumption, it's the adding of something positive that makes this world an exciting place. And then there's the last guna, which is tamas, which is Shiva, which is the embodiment of things that need to be destroyed. So in a way, the victory with tamas and with Shiva is the destruction of that which should be destroyed. So in a way, here it encourages us to be positive even towards negativity, as it says that negative things which are overcome are used to our gain. Purification is the virtue here with tamas and Shiva. I guess this is kind of an encouragement to approach problems or pain in our life from this perspective as well. Especially since I'm going to directly quote there, the Lord is in all beings and the entire universe is in him. So even the negativity, even the Shiva, even the tamas, the destruction is divine, and it serves a divine purpose of overcoming it. So in a way, the whole principle of you are the universe and the universe is in you is very clear here, and this, again, so far from the Christian idea of how things were working, they really were more advanced back at the time, which again, I'm loving this. Anyway, I didn't even notice that when this has become so long, and I only covered chapter 1. Naturally, I have many more things to say, but like I said, I'm gonna skip some chapters because not everything needs to be covered. Just volume 1 has 45 chapters. So yeah, that's got, like, let's say if I do it once a day, it would still take me 3 months just to cover some more interesting parts, and I can just tell that some chapters I'm gonna have to split because they have so much information. So again, by chapter 1, I thought this was, as far as chapter 1 goes, I thought it was definitely enough. It was just so much general spiritual information on how the ancients perceived the world, and how deeper it is compared to how we view things nowadays. And I hope that the whole Hindu terminology didn't, throw you off or make you feel like this is irrelevant to your life, which it completely is, because the nature of the universe did not change just because of a language difference. So if you have stayed with me the whole time and managed to stay on track, thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.